All right. How did you guys, or you, however it went, how did you guys come up with the name Made in Chicago?
That's a good question.
Because when I saw that shit, I was like, yo, whoever did that is an asshole for taking that. That's something I would have loved to have had that shit, man.
I mean, you know what? That's something that we had for a long time. So when we first came with the M.I.C, we was toying around this whole concept of being the best on the mic. I don't know if you heard of our first album, Everything's Been Changed, but on the cover, it was all of these acronyms of M.I.C. So when we came with M.I.C, it was basically about the microphone itself. But then we were from Chicago, so we was like, man, we're gonna be made in Chicago. Like everything we do is made in Chicago. You know, the music, the clothes, you know. So what we did was branched off from that, you know. So it was M.I.C, Made in Chicago. And then we changed that. We just started adding on different acronyms of what M.I.C meant. So Made in Chicago was the main one. And then we came with Minds Incite Change, which means your mind is gonna incite you to do different, right? Then we came with Melodic Influence Committee. So we kept flipping the M.I.C thing, right? Over time, what we realized doing shows, touring, going out of town, we realized that Chicago was synonymous with the wrong kind of reputation.
Bruh.
Right? So having a group name called Made in Chicago, after a while, maybe doing it like 10, 12 years, I realized, wait a minute, this is gonna kind of put us in a local box forever. Just the name, right? You go to New York, say you made in Chicago, somebody will say something like, I remember us selling some CDs in New York and we told them the name of our group was Made in Chicago and they said something, oh, like Al Capone. This was his first thought.
That's the first thought.
Like, oh,
everything
no,
is always been gangster shit attached to Chicago. Wherever I've been, it's always been gangster shit.
Yeah, I was like, no, that ain't good. So, you know, in 2014, we did a record label imprint deal with some of the former A&Rs from Loud, Matty C and Scott Free. And one of Scott Free's suggestion was, he was like, man, you might want to think about kind of changing the group name to kind of make it a little bit more universal.
Okay.
Because, you know, you get to yell in Chicago in a place that they don't mess with the shy like that, you done cut out a whole bunch of bread for yourself, kind of like it make it local. I sat back and thought about that. So then that's when we came with the King Drive, because it's a King Drive in every major city, and this is where the Black people are. So I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense, because we'll still be able to get the concept that we was trying to put through the Made in Chicago, but then we can put it on a universal plane, because every hood got an MLK Street or Boulevard, and this is where the Black people are. So I'm like, man, that's it, King Drive. But they don't necessarily have nothing to do with Martin Luther King. It just means we are everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's where our people are, you know? And so M.I.C became King Drive because Made in Chicago had a reputation that we wasn't necessarily trying to fulfill. You know,
that stigma. That stigma is so old.
Yeah, we didn't want to not get booked for having Chicago in our name. Or we didn't want to not get a venue or get paid or get a deal because people thought we were threatening or thought we were gang affiliated or, you know, thought we were too hood, because, you know, in a lot of ways, we actually the opposite of what that reputation, you know, is. You know, we come off very fly, you know, gentlemen, you know, the content is clean, you know, it can get gutter, but it's still respectable. So we've always been some stand-up guys. That's why the whole made concept is still, you know, still in there. But that was, you know, the history of the name, you know, and how all of that came about.
Yeah, for us.